Hey folks, we're live. Had a little technical issue there to begin with, but thanks for hanging in there. You guys didn't get the full 5-minute countdown clock, so I know you're disappointed about that, but at least you got a minute or so of it. And it looks like once again we got folks from all over the world. Got a big stream planned for you here today. And here in a minute, I'm going to introduce Mr. Chris Herrod from Luthier's Mercantile, and he's going to come on board and talk Tonewoods with us. But thank you for spending your Saturday afternoon, evening with me. And for those in Europe, heck, it's probably pretty late or even into Sunday morning. And I've got my son upstairs. He's helping moderate the chat. I've got my wife off camera over here, Adriana. She's moderating the chat. And Adriana, why don't you come in and tell us who's signed up here for the torture session today?
Yes, we have David Smith, we have
Jim Kirby.
Jim Kirby,
Welcome aboard.
Garhesh, I don't know how to
Garhesh.
say
All right. Luthieria de Pobre down there in Brazil. Jonatas, welcome aboard.
Kristen Salisbury,
All right. Where's she from?
Nevada.
Nevada. We got Bill from Tasmania in Australia. Wait, I'm glad you could tune in there, Bill.
Chris Lash. Oh, I'm gonna kill everybody's name here. Chris from Colorado.
Chris from Colorado. Peter from Colorado. We got Southern California there. Oh my God. Mo over there in England. Quebec. Who else?
There's Ronout from Quebec. Right, you saw that one.
From Quebec. Yep. Nevada. My God. Well, thanks for tuning in, everybody. I certainly appreciate this. And let me just make a couple of quick announcements. What else you got?
Bobby Dagger said that the video's a little bit off.
The video's a little off. That's
quiet, David Smith said.
okay. Let me try and increase the audio here. And that's about as much as I want to go without clipping. How's that? A little better. It's about a 15-second delay for you guys. In Europe, it's a little more. In Brazil, I figured out it's a 40-second delay. So how's that? Is that a little better? I've got this thing almost maxed out here. All right, you guys keep me posted on the audio and the video. Sometimes there's a little sync difference there with the audio and the video, but you guys keep me posted. We got David over in the Czech Republic. Thanks for checking in. David Smith says we're a bit quiet on the audio. How are we doing now? Oh, the quality. Yeah. Okay. All right. And Missouri, Scottsdale. Holy cow! Look at all these people signing in. Well, thank you for tuning in. Sound is fine from Robbie. Okay, good. Yeah, Adriana, she doesn't have a mic, so she's behind me, and that's why you probably weren't hearing her very well. I'm going to take a quick trip over to my website here. Let me just get that dialed up, and I want you guys to take a look. There we go. There's the website. Hey, there's Chris. Chris, you're not supposed to be there just yet. Let's get rid of him. Okay. All right. So I just muted Chris's camera there. All right. So I just want to talk real quick about my website here. The first thing you'll notice is if you go to my website, o'brienguitars.com, you'll notice that there's a big red banner on the online course page. That's because I'm running a 25% off special on my sharpening course. And I have never done a 25% off on my sharpening course or any of my courses for that matter, except for I think the marketing course. We did 25% off on that one time. So, it's a good time to learn how to sharpen your tools, start the year right. And so 25% discount there just so you can start the year with sharp tools. You'll also notice, now that you're on YouTube, let me get into that little plug there. Go ahead and subscribe. Most of you probably already have, but go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Also hit that little bell icon. That way you know when I go live. And you won't miss out on any of the major happenings here at O'Brien Guitars. Also hit like. My son off camera here, he's the technical guru. If you want to share the stream too, as we're here talking, you can go ahead and share during the live stream here, and people can dial in. Speaking of live streams, if you go to my website, I've still got my website dialed up here, and if you go over here to the media tab, and there's a drop down menu, click on videos. That takes you to another page there that has a drop-down menu. You'll see my latest Luthier Tips du Jour mailbag video, and that was cedar versus spruce with my good buddy there in Sydney, Australia, Trevor Gore, and he outlines the difference between cedar and spruce. But if you go over here to this drop-down menu here, You click on that, you can drop it down to what am I trying to get at? Live streams. If you click on live streams, look at that, and then you can dial up all of the past live streams that I've done there, and you can see them all there. And you can watch them even though it's not live anymore. You can still go ahead and watch them, play reruns and things like that. If you like to hear your voice, or if you want to see some of the information that we put out, you can go do that. So that's the latest things on the O'Brien Guitars website. And let's get back over here to Zoom. There we go. How are we doing, Adriana, with the chat? Any questions coming in yet? You guys go ahead and get your questions ready. Chris is going to be on here in just a few minutes. Anything Tonewood related or tool related, anything LMI related about their website, their services, or anything, then go ahead and have those ready to go. Also, we're going to have a giveaway today. And I'll let Chris tell you a little bit later what that giveaway is, and it's pretty special. Coming from LMI, and when he comes on, I'll let him tell you about the giveaway. But here's what you need to do. In the chat box, you'll see that there's a little pinned message up there. It says, click here to participate in today's drawing. You need to click on that. Give me your email address. That way we know who to contact that's gonna win the drawing. So who we got here?
I have a question for you.
Oh, we already got a question.
Yeah, Chris, does LMI have a distributor?
See, I haven't even introduced Chris. He's not even on here yet. So give me just a minute to get Chris up here. Give me just a minute to get Chris
so
up.
Why don't you have your coffee?
Oh, we got coffee today? Oh, folks, we got a cup of Brazilian coffee coming up here. Where's that coffee at? Oh, look at that. There's that cup of Brazilian coffee. It's become quite a tradition here on the O'Brien Guitar Shop Talk streams to have a cup of coffee as we broadcast. Sometimes we even have a little Brazilian cheese bread or a brownie or something. But recently somebody asked me, said, hey, where do you get your coffee? And I figured out that Amazon sells this Brazilian coffee that every time I go to Brazil, I buy a bunch of Brazilian coffee, and Amazon sells it. And my wife has some of it here. It's the Melita brand. They also have a couple of other brands of Brazilian coffee. Pilão, I think, is one that comes to mind. So if you're into having a nice cup of Brazilian coffee to get you going in the morning or during the live streams to keep you awake, because I know these things can get boring sometimes, you can travel on over there to Amazon. And I think my buddy in Brazil, Cesar Tessarin, is monitoring the chat here, and I think he can put a link to that. Let me just check in with him. Ask him to put a coffee link up there for us, and he can do that. And that's an Amazon affiliate link. Full disclosure here, if you click on that link and buy a little coffee or anything else off of Amazon, then I get a little kickback and help keep the lights on here at O'Brien Guitars. So, cheers. All right. I think we need to introduce Chris Herrod. For those of you that don't know Chris Herrod, Chris is the sales manager, I believe, at Luthiers Mercantile International. I've known Chris for, 20 years or more. Long time been doing business with Chris. Great guy, great individual, great company. And I'm going to go ahead and bring him in here and let him get started. Let's go ahead and dial that in. There he is, Chris Herrod. Hang on, let me get your mic on. All right, okay. Now you can. I didn't have your mic on.
All right, great. Hello, everybody. It's great to hear there's so many people from around the world chiming in. And yeah, gosh, probably I don't know how long it's been exactly. At least 15 years.
At least, yeah. Quite a while. By the way, how's everybody? Let me know how Chris's mic is doing. If there's any audio or video issues, please.
I'm not sure how I can change. Well, I probably do. But let me know. Yeah, and I can always just start shouting.
Okay. Looks like Cesar tried to put that coffee link in the chat box, and the Nightbot filtered him out. I don't know why. Thinks he's spamming something. Anyway, all right. So let's go ahead and get Chris going here. Chris is graciously taking time out of his day, so thank you very much, Chris, for joining us here. I know you've got family and kids and everything, so thank you very much for spending a little bit of time here with us.
No problem. This is great.
We'll try and keep this under an hour here. But why don't we just get started with a couple of questions here that I got from people over the internet. People sent me emails, and one of them is from Tasmania, Australia, and he says, how detrimental is Runout on soundboards? He's a uke builder, and he's in Arthur's Lake, Tasmania, Australia. What do you think about Runout, Chris?
Well, Then it depends on the person. I mean, it's more important to some people than others. And the people who find that it's really important to avoid run out are pretty religious about it. And, but, you know, just to keep a perspective on it, if you consider the vintage guitars that sort of set the standard for steel string guitars, Martins and old Gibsons and stuff, you see a lot of that. And also the Spanish makers of fine classical guitar builders, it was not a huge concern. It's really hard to get away from it if you're in the wood cutting side of things. And it's difficult to find a piece of wood that doesn't have that little bit of twist in it that causes that to come out. So, so, you know, my opinion is if you see a little refraction where one side of the guitar is darker or lighter than the other, it's really going to be up to you whether that bothers you or not. In your market, your customers, whether it bothers them or not, there definitely seems to be a lot of room for it.
Right.
Assuming it's not, extreme, of course.
Right.
And we're still talking about perfectly courtesan tops, right? But I certainly respect people who don't want to have it. Now, here's the important part about this question is that at Luthier's Mercantile and probably a lot of other wood dealers, we don't grade on Runout. So our grading, this is a whole topic we can get into later if you want to, but is based mainly on the cosmetic aspects of the wood. So a lower grade will have maybe wider grain, maybe little discoloration or something like that. When you get into the higher grade, of course, it's very clean, even color, tighter grain, or even grain and things of this sort. None of those really have a direct impact on the sound of the wood or the workability of the wood. They're just how the wood looks. And so Runout is not part of that. What I will tell you about the lower grade woods is, when sticking to top woods right now, they're all well quartered and they're defect free. So when you go into the lower grades, you're not going to have to worry about knots and cracks and warpage or things of that sort. We're talking about a good usable top at any level, just with cosmetic differences.
Fantastic.
Now, Runout is important to you. You are welcome to tell us about that. And we can do some things and some things we can't do. There's a lot of different ways to test for Runout. But as you know, it's generally kind of hard to see in a naked top.
Right.
And, but that's the extent of the grading we'll do on it. I'll go out there and I'll pull some tops out if somebody wants one, and I'll hold them in the light and I'll turn them around. And if they're refracting differently on either side of the top, then I'll know that it's got some Runout. And if it doesn't, we'll go for it. That doesn't mean that once you get finished on it and everything, that you might see a little bit, because this is not a perfectly scientific test where you're running a needle along the grain line and things of that sort, of cutting a piece of wood at the edge. We don't go that far, no destructive testing. So in those cases, of course, you're welcome to send it back if it doesn't meet your standards. But we'll look at it for you if you ask. If you don't ask, you're going to get a perfectly good top.
Good. That's great to know. That's great to know.
Yeah.
Chris, can you talk a little bit about the grading system? I know you have, what is it, like 2A, 3A? Do you have a 4A and then a master? Or is it just 3A and then master? Or?
Let's preface this by noting that grading is not standard in the industry from supplier to supplier.
Boy, ain't that the truth. I learned that the hard way.
I'm sure you're not alone. And so it's good to do some research and talk to your vendors about what you want, what you expect to see. And we're all ears. I know some companies are better and worse than this, but we want to hear what you want to see when you open up your box.
Right.
So we're having a direct conversation about the qualities that are important to you. But that being said, we have a grading system. We try to convey it clearly on the website, and we try to stick to it very clearly. The person who does the main grading at Luthier's Mercantile has been there as long as me, which is coming up on 24 years.
Wow, that long, huh?
Yeah, well, Guillaume, he's our foreman in our shop, and he's the guy who's in charge of the wood preparation and the drying. He's a master at what he does.
Yeah.
Something we're very proud of. It's sort of, he's sort of our secret weapon. People don't know him too much personally. He's not on the phones or anything like that, but he's been doing an amazing job for us for many years. He's really part of what makes our company do well at what we do.
Yeah.
And so we try to be consistent, and the grading varies from part to part. So the same grading for tops does not apply for back and sides. So tops is where it gets to be the most difficult, because if you're looking, the differences between from top to top are pretty subtle visually, but that's really what we're looking at. Right. So we have a 4A system. In the past, we used to call the 4A the highest grade, master grade. That's, I don't know, we just sort of veered away from that. Now it's just a nomenclature thing. But those tops are not always in stock. The 4A ones are the real rare gems, are just super difficult to get. We don't expect to always have those in stock. We get them, and we charge more for them, and they often there's very few of them, and they sell out quickly. So the 3A is something that you'll see on a professional level instrument, in our opinion. And the 2A is probably the best bang for the buck. If you want to save a little money and still get a really good quality top, nice looking, and if you convey what's important to us, you're going to be happy with what you get. A grade, that's your budget. And second grade is going to be cosmetically funky, but functional. If you're a beginner, go with a second grade or an A grade, and you have a top that's going to make a great sounding guitar, and you won't lose any sleep if you happen to have a mishap. Along those lines. So that's tops.
Just for everybody's general knowledge out there, what I use in my classes and on my personal guitars is the LMI 3A grade. Like Chris said, that's professional level, and it's fantastic. All of my students use it, and I use it on my personal guitars. Very pleased with it, by the way. Anything I get from LMI, when I open up the box, I know that if I get a 3A top, that's what I order. I'm getting a 3A top, and it's a very good 3A. I talked a few minutes ago about a bad experience I had. I ordered for some friends of mine in Brazil. I was going to go down there and teach, and I was going to take down some lumber, and ordered from a place in Canada. 3A. It was not 3A. So anyway, I learned the hard way. All right, you ready for another question, Chris?
Yeah, and well, that's a big topic. We can go back to it if you want, but we could talk about fingerboards and back and side sets too.
If you want to, go right ahead. Go ahead and elaborate.
Yeah, I don't want to belabor it too much, but once again, with fingerboards, it's usually a cosmetic thing. But there again, the nomenclature is different. It's first grade and second grade, and then we have a premium grade. Very rarely, like Ebony is the main one where people are looking for premium grade. Those are the black ones. There's very few of those around these days. They cost a lot of money. They sell out a lot. Always have the first grade. That's probably what you're getting most of the time. And so there's a little color in there. It's very workable, very much accepted in the marketplace right now. So
sure, I like it. I think it looks beautiful.
Cool, and I do too. And so that's fingerboards in a nutshell. There's more to say about that with different woods. You can, when you get into like bird's eye maple fingerboards and bear claw spruce tops, all the other grading goes away. We're talking about the amount of bear claw and the amount of bird's eye. That's what's important on those figured woods. So there again, the game sort of changes when you get into figured stuff. And that kind of carries over to back and side. So if you're talking about figured woods, we're talking about more or less figure. And so the grading will reflect that. And the description of the wood on our website will tell you, if it's, a subtle, good, or strong flamed maple or what have you. And there again, so it's more of a first grade, second grade situation with the back and side. So, and similar with neckwoods, but so there you go. That just to let you know that there's a different game plan with different types of products, and you can certainly, if you have questions about that, you can always bring those to us.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about how you acquire wood. And I have a question from somebody who sent me an email. I have used, but can no longer get bloodwood, black walnut, Indian laurel, or Cadillacs. And does LMI have problems sometimes with their wood supply, where you source it? We always hear this about, the wood's becoming more and more scarce. What's, from news from the front, Chris? What do you got for us on that issue?
Wood is becoming more and more scarce. Good wood. And each one of the ones in that question have a different explanation. And so bloodwood was an interesting one. At one point, not too long ago, I'm thinking 7 years ago, something along those lines, we were getting good, strong figured bloodwood, and we had it for fingerboards, head plates, bridges, backs and sides, and then it just dried up. Yep. And in those cases, it was had to do with politics in the Congo,
Wow.
And are there trees in there that are going to give us the dark colored bloodwood parts again? At this point, we don't really know. And so that's a kind of mysterious one. And, with the increased requirement for good paperwork and the legality requirements that we have for the woods, it's going to be difficult to say about that one. So that's a big question mark with bloodwood. Indian laurel, it's plentiful. It's becoming more and more known. We're going to get some more. It's just selling out because people are discovering it.
Right.
So we ordered a little bit to start with, and now people are into it. We're going to be ordering more. That's not going to be a problem.
Okay.
Walnuts, there's a good example of a wood that is plentiful, but how many trees have really cool, rich figure? This is the same thing we have with California walnut and the koa. The trees aren't endangered, but the trees that are large and have tons of flame in them, those are, they've been found and discovered, and it's sort of a rare day that somebody finds an old walnut tree in the back of the ranch that's got that figure these days. Because by now, and very true with koa, people know what it's worth, and if it's coming out from anywhere, it's not being found, and it's forest or in sometimes a plantation situation,
right?
They're coming from somebody's secret stash,
right?
And so that's the story with those woods. What was the other one on that list?
Let's see, Indian laurel, catalogs.
That one we have a good supply of that one.
Okay.
There again, people are looking for woods that replace the exotic rosewoods, which were really difficult to that's a lot of the story. We can talk about that, but people who can't find the roses that we used to have plentifully 10 years ago are turning to some other woods, and Cateloche is another one that people are going, wow, this is a magical wood, this is really great stuff. And so we keep getting it in, and there's always ebbs and flows with the supply. I mean, it's not uncommon for us to just be out of something for a month or two or something like that.
Right.
It's not always possible for us to over order, or just economical for us to order more than we think we'll sell. So there's that part of it as well.
Right. All right. Well, let's get into a few questions here. My wife just off camera here said that we got a bunch of questions rolling in. Chris is not able to see the chat box. He's just going through a Zoom call here. So I'm going to have my wife feed me the questions. I'll feed them over to Chris, and we'll go from there. What do you got, Adriana?
So, Mo B,
he's in the UK.
he said, Chris, does LMI have a distributor in the UK or
European Union?
European Union.
Okay.
I can really use some of your products, but the cost of postage.
Okay. Okay. So the question, Chris, is, do you have a supplier in Europe or in the UK?
No, we do not. We everything we sell comes out of our warehouse in Northern California.
Okay.
And,
so you have to ship international at that point.
Yeah. No, we're good at that. We ship all around the world all the time, and unfortunately, it's not cheap.
Yeah.
What makes a package more or less expensive has nothing to do with the price of the products in it. So if you're ordering a bunch of bridge pins of different types, and you have one strip of long purfling in the package, that long box is going to drive the price way up.
Right.
So what you want to do to get your shipping prices down is experiment with what's in your cart, because our website will tell you, it'll give you the shipping cost with a couple different options for mail and FedEx. You might find if you took that piece of purfling out of your order that the price drops way down, and you say, well, maybe I'll make that myself, or whatever you got to do.
Right.
But But unfortunately, on international shipping, we're not making a nickel on that. We're telling you what we're being charged by FedEx and by mail. We ship a lot of FedEx packages. Our contract is really aggressive, so we're getting great rates from them. But it's still never going to be cheap when you're sending neck blanks to England or anywhere else.
Right. Okay. Good. Another question, Adriana?
Nathan Pearson, does LMI send all tops and backs when requested to a standard thickness or per wood type?
Oh, that's a great question. Does LMI send all the tops and backs to a standard thickness? Do you have like a standard thickness that you mill your lumber to before you ship it?
Yeah, we do. And that's one of the things that people really like about ordering tops from us, especially if they're into testing. So some of the folks nowadays who are doing more scientific testing operations, they need to have everything to be pretty uniform. And so we're kind of a go-to for a lot of these folks. And but what we're advertising on the website is the minimum thickness. If it exceeds that a little bit, we don't need to remove that material. So it's within a range that everything is pretty uniform. But uniform is a virtue for us in terms of what we're selling. And if you ever have any questions about what you're going to get, that's always something you can ask. A lot of times, what we're doing with back and sidewoods is sort of unique. Now we're calling a set a dreadnought set. That's a large body guitar, right? So that's going to cover everything dreadnought and smaller. And we're not saying it's 8.5 inches wide, which it is, because in the old days, if we found a defect up in the corner outside of the pattern area of the guitar, we would be like, oh, geez, we can't sell that anymore. It's that we were advertising 8.5 inches of good wood. And now we're just grading within a certain pattern area, like a dreadnought. Okay, so you're building a different type of guitar and you want to make sure that there's no problems in your pattern area, give us a call, send us an email. We'll double check it for you. That doesn't come up very often. Those type of guitar designs are so well known by so many people, the size and the shape of them, that it's not prohibitive in terms of knowing that they're going to get wood that's going to be useful for their instrument. But if you have any questions, just let us know.
Okay. I know the stuff that I get from LMI is very consistent as far as thickness. All my students come in the woods exactly within just tenths of a millimeter of all the tops and backs and things we get. Got another question, Adriana?
Yes. Peter Burrows.
Peter Burrows. He's here in Colorado. How you doing, Peter?
The different grades of spruce top have different sounds. AAA looks great, but if I were building a guitar with a black lacquer finish, would a lower grade top have just a good sound?
Okay. Question is there a tonal difference between the grades? For example, if he wants to build a black lacquer top, can he get a good tonal quality going with a 1A, for example?
Yeah, there's no difference.
No difference tonally. Okay.
No. Yeah. One of the things, you're going to see tighter grain on higher grade tops than lower grade. And there used to be an assumption that the tighter grain was going to give you stiffer wood. Stiffness will impact tone a lot. That's one of the main things you're looking for as a builder, as far as the tonal potential of the wood you're buying. But within a pretty broad range, there's really not going to be any big difference in stiffness that corresponds to the width of the grain. Now, if the grain is really wide, it starts to get floppy, but it also starts to get floppy when it's super duper tight. So, in some cases, not every top, right? So, so within the general range of everything we carry, there's, you're just as likely to get a great sounding top from any one of those grades. There again, if you really, if you're building the sort of instruments like I want it to be sonically awesome, I don't care what it looks like, would you go through them, flex them, make sure they're stiff and has a good ring? We'll do that for you.
There you go. Wow, that's a great service. Just a little plug for my online voicing courses. Both my steel string and my classical online voicing courses go into great detail about how I select my wood. And I talk about the cosmetic as well as the tonal aspects of it. So if you're interested in learning how I grade my wood that I get from LMI, go ahead and get those two courses. Give me another question, Adriana. Nathan Pearson, coming on down.
I purchased a sinker, redwood top and black walnut back, sides from LMI, and need to thin at 1 millimeter. Should I sand, scrape, or paint?
All right, so he got some sinker redwood and some black walnut, you said?
Yes.
back and sides, and he needs to take a millimeter off.
Yeah.
And he wants to know if he should scrape, sand, or plane. All of the above.
Well, probably
Pick your poison.
Right. Probably the slowest and most careful way to do it is to sand it with a big sanding block. I've heard of people doing that. Presumably, you don't have a belt sander.
Yeah, if it's only a millimeter or so, yeah, get you a big sanding block, glue some 60 or 80 grit to it, and have a big cup of coffee and have at it.
Yeah.
If you feel comfortable hand planes, sure, that's another great way to do it, and then finish it with a scraper or a sanding block or something. Okay. I just noticed that my friend down in Brazil, Cesar Tessarin, put in the chat box here just a friendly reminder that we have a very special giveaway happening. Oh, that's right, Chris. I forgot.
Yes.
For you, you're going to announce what that is. So, Chris, I'll turn it over to Chris. He's going to tell us what the giveaway is. But you got to click. You got to click on that link up there, and fill out the form. It's got your name and your email address, so we know who to contact. So, Chris, what's the giveaway today?
This dovetails with that last question just nicely. It's not sinker, but it is something that grows very close to us here in Northern California, and it is. Hold on just a moment. I grabbed the cardboard.
And we have a nice piece of quarter sawn cardboard we're going to be giving away here, highly figured.
There we go. I hid it for myself. Redwood top.
There we go.
This is a AAA Redwood top, and it's got beautiful tight grain. It's hard, you're not going to see it in there, but it's got some beautiful silking in it. You see that these light lines here? That's just the stickers that'll come right out.
Okay.
But here again, you can see an example. I'm going to back up of a dreadnought pattern. So this stuff here, the dark stuff here, it doesn't get into the pattern area very much. So we don't consider that part of the grading. We consider this top to have a lot of really clear color. There's a little striping in the outside here, but nothing.
That's beautiful.
Over. It's a beautiful top, and it's super stiff. And we just, this is a good lesson. I mean, there's a lot of redwood around here, right? And a lot of it looks beautiful. And we've had people come by, because it's kind of our local top wood, folks who are cutting and milling it for whatever purposes, they realize how much a top like this will go for. And I think this top goes for, oh boy, I should have had this figure. I think it's $114.
Wow. So a great little giveaway item there. And yesterday, Chris and I were doing some testing here with our software and stuff. And I asked Chris, I said, look, I have viewers from all over the world. Is LMI willing to ship this to somebody overseas or outside of the United States if they win the drawing? And he said, yes, absolutely. So
as long as they order from us again.
As long as you order again, or tell them to throw something else in that box when they ship it, and take advantage of the shipping or whatever.
Yeah, we can work that out if you like. Yeah, no, we're happy to do that. Yeah, redwood's funny because first of all, it has to be cut quarter sawn. Otherwise, you won't notice. I mean, if they're a little off quarter, they can still have some stiffness, but redwood that loses its stiffness unless it's sawn perfectly quartered sawn, right. And this one is. But even if it is, some trees got it, some trees don't, right. And it's you don't know until it's cut to this thickness, whether it's really going to work for a guitar top or not. And then once you've got, you've done that and you realize it, then I guess you can work with the rest of the wood. I'm not sure exactly what the procedure for a woodcutter would be in that case. Right. We have somebody who mills these into tops for us. We actually coached him along. He had great sources and he had the capacity to learn it. And we've been getting fantastic wood. And it was after a period of not having any really decent redwood for a while after another supplier went out of business and so on. And so we're really stoked with the redwood we're getting now. We're getting sinker redwood from a similar source. This all comes from the area around Mendocino in California, and a beautiful, beautiful area. And I just went on a hike out in the redwoods last week with my family, and it's a phenomenal species. I mean, it's such a beautiful and rare thing. And so always happy to present it. What does it sound like? I like to think it splits the difference between cedar and spruce. So it's a little bit more of a fundamental, a little more bold sound than cedar, but still lots of rich harmonics like that you expect from cedar. So it's somewhere in between a spruce and a cedar, probably closer to the cedar.
All right, so go ahead, Chris.
And it is something you want to be careful with. It's like cedar. The surface can puncture if you've got a little pebble or something on your workbench. You're going to have a problem with that. And until you have it braced up, the potential for it splitting or cracking is greater than it is with spruce. But if you're careful, it's not going to cause you any trouble.
Good.
But just worth mentioning.
All right. So if you want to participate in the drawing, click on that pinned link at the top of the chat box there. It takes you to a Google Drive or a Google form. You got to put your name, your address, so we know how to contact you. And we're going to be closing that out here in a little bit. So make sure you go ahead and do that. It's a fantastic giveaway. My wife just told me that we've got over 100 people here watching, Chris, and a lot of questions. So we're going to have to kind of run through these pretty quickly here.
All right. We'll do our best. And I'll remind you, if you have questions, service@luthiersmerc.com, or you can email through the website. Send us your questions. We get questions all day, every day. That's what we do.
Perfect.
And we're happy to help.
All right.
I want to mention.
Hang on just a second. Chris has got something else to say. Go ahead.
We love seeing pictures of people's guitars.
Yes.
So whoever wins this, that's what you owe me. Send me a photo of the finished instrument. I'd love to see it. We can maybe put it on our Instagram feed or what have you, but that's just a real treat for us. And so just want to invite anybody who's created something with some wood or even with the tool that they bought from us. We love to see what came from it.
Perfect. Send your pictures over, folks. Another question, Adriana.
Rick Sizemore, what about the holly as a top? If thin enough, would it work? Is it
Holly. Holly for holly for soundboard material. Chris, you ever heard of that?
Nope.
I haven't either.
I'm not sure why. It's probably, I'm just guessing it doesn't have that ring, but maybe 1 in a million does. Can't rule it out.
All right, next question.
Christian Salisbury, when will LMI have triple O, 000?
Yep, triple O.
Winch back and sides in stock. Also, what would be...
Hang on, let me get that one first. Triple O or Dreadnought size Wingay. When are we going to have that in stock?
We have it.
You do have it?
Process. We have it in process. I don't think we'll actually have it on the shelf for a month or so.
Okay. All right. So they do have it though. So go ahead and get over there to the site.
And I've seen it. It's gorgeous.
What would be a good alternative for Wingay?
Good alternative for Wingay? Is there anything out there you know of?
Well, that's got that, it's dark. It's a very dark brown, almost black, and black under finish in a lot of cases. So I don't know. Occasionally we get ebony back inside instead of a black. We have some Macassar ebony that's quite dark that's in stock right now. Cataloche can occasionally be that black, though it tends to run a little on the reddish side.
Okay.
But yeah.
Perfect.
Steve Henson, curious about Lutz spruce.
Lutz spruce. Yeah.
Subalpine forest using white oak as a backwood.
He's curious about using Lutz for the soundboard and white oak for the back. Do you have any Lutz in stock now, Chris?
No, we don't. We haven't really broken into that. It's sort of a niche item, and I know a lot of people are having success with it. The demand for it is mediocre, I guess. I think if we had the right opportunity, we would carry it, but we don't right now.
Okay.
It's nothing against it. White oak, unless you're talking about silky oak, which is sort of a lacewood colored material, which we do carry on occasion, and I forget off the top of my head whether we have it right now, but I don't know. We don't have it. And usually, at least the oak species that grow around here in California, they're difficult to bend. They have stability issues sometimes. It can be done. I've seen people make guitars out of it, and it's very hard. There's potential, but it's a little more problematic, so we don't usually get into it.
Okay. Adriana?
Luthierie de pobre. Any tips on sawing wood in half by hand, matching using hand saw?
Any tips on sawing by hand, book matching by hand? Yeah, have a big cup of coffee, and you can tell the luthiers that work more with hand tools than with power tools. Usually, their dominant arm or the right arm, in most people's cases, is a little more developed than the other arms. So if you want to do it by hand, fantastic. Of course, LMI they produce so much lumber that it's just not economical to do anything by hand. But if you want to do it by hand, have at it. Adriana?
Just for you to have an idea, those questions are from 313. We're at 343.
Wow, we've got a ton of questions, Chris.
David Smurs, Luthier told me that fruit tree woods like apple or pear are not suitable for back and sides because they contain a lot of fructose and tend to move a lot. Do you have any experience with that?
Do you have any experience with that, Chris, about fruit woods, pears and apple and stuff like that, having too much fructose in the wood and therefore being more prone to movement and not good for soundboard or for instrument wood?
Well, we've seen some pear wood, especially from those examples, and cherry for back and sides.
Right.
Those work great. They don't tend to be real reflective and hard, but they're light and weight, which is another, tonal potential. Is lightweight, a lightweight back and side. If you do certain things with the top, can be a really magical component. But no major stability issue. Martin has used cherry on and off over the years, and usually you can tell if a factory's used it because they're worried about warranty issues. That there's no big stability concern.
Okay, Adriana.
Okay, Steve Boss, he said that he built with a floral deck.
Adirondack.
And white oak bueno, so he just a comment.
So he built with Adirondack and white oak and loved he said it was bueno, so that's good.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah. And Martin Snedev. Oh, I need to learn how to say those names. A dealer neuro, please, Chris Martin from Denmark. Oh, I just say hi.
Okay.
Joan Smith. I found a stash of old Redwood boxes, maybe 60 to 80 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Vertical grain.
Yep.
They are large enough to make ukuleles. Can you offer any rules of thumb for thickness and bracing? Thank you.
He's a question about he found some old pallets or boxwood out of Redwood, nice quarter sawn, and he's wanting to use it for ukuleles and is asking for any type of advice or something. My advice is get all the nails out first.
Well, once again, not every species of redwood is going to give you a good tonewood. Not even every log within those, like the coastal redwood here.
Mm-hmm.
Not every log that comes out of the forest is going to give you good tonewood. So you have to experiment with that.
Right. Okay, Adriana.
The next one, Bobby Dagger.
Mm-hmm.
Can you please explain the difference between Tonewood and the exotic imported lumber I purchased at my local hardware supply?
Oh, good question. What's the difference between so-called tonewood and exotic lumber that he buys at his local lumber warehouse?
Tonewood is just a term that means it works well with guitars.
Okay.
And, it doesn't necessarily mean that when you tap on it, it rings like a marimba.
Okay.
Though a lot of times that's true. And I think especially with the top, that's true. And if it goes thud instead of ping, then it's not something you want to use for a top on an acoustic guitar. But on the back and sides, there's woods like walnut and koa that don't have a lot of immediate resonance that do support great sounding guitars. Once again, it's usually you have to complement it with the right top and bracing and so on to make that happen.
Right.
Whereas I think with rosewood, you have a lot of more immediate potential for a great sounding guitar, which kind of explains its popularity. It's not black and white. What's the tonewood and what's not? And once again, within any particular species, you're going to have a variety.
Okay. Also, let's give credit to the builder, to the luthier. A lot of times, people say, hey, there's a great builder, a great guitar. Not necessarily the case. I mean, the wood doesn't necessarily make the quality of the instrument. It's the builder. Give the builder some credit is what I'm trying to say. Okay?
Oh, for sure. I think tonewood is, as a component, it's people can get overly fixated on it because you can buy it from a store.
Yeah.
But really, the design of the instrument is probably the most important thing, and then the execution of that design is the second thing, and then it's maybe materials, third thing down the list.
Right.
Not enough can be said about the experience that goes into bracing a top, for example, and also just making sure you're not getting too experimental with your designs. Beginners should start with basic, well-known guitar designs so they can kind of see how those parts function before they start to experiment with stuff.
Okay, Adriana.
Okay, Steve Hansen, advice on choosing wood species for braces. Does it matter? Should it match top?
Good question. Advice on choosing top braces. The general consensus is use the same species of wood, but does it matter?
Some people like to use spruce on cedar because it adds a little stiffness.
Mm-hmm.
And some people like to go with the stiffest wood possible because they can reduce the mass. That would probably be Adirondack spruce. And so you see a lot of people going with Adirondack spruce on an Engelmann top. I see that a lot of times.
Okay. So
it
stiff and
doesn't have
light,
to be the
basically.
same.
It doesn't really matter the species then.
Right. I mean, there's always a long-term stability question about using different woods together, that they'll move slightly different over time and maybe create a gap or a problem, something like that. And there's some truth to that. But there again, if you're doing the proper joinery, you shouldn't lose any sleep over that. It's going to be okay to use spruce on cedar top.
Okay. Adriana?
Okay. Rick Sizemore also curious about lessons on how to bend fret wire. Building a dulcimer, and it has a 1.60 wide fretboard with an 8-inch radius.
Yep.
First time with the radius saw fretboard.
Okay, we got a question about fret wire, and basically it's a little bit out of the scope of our topic here today, which is Tonewoods, and let's take advantage of Chris while he's here with us. If you want to learn how to bend fret wire, there's a bunch of videos on YouTube, and I think, heck, I've probably even got a video out there on how to bend fret wire. So let's reserve that for a different day if we could. Next one.
TJ Slicks and hi, Steve Boss. Any plans to start testing for Runout as part of your grading?
Good question. Is there any plans in the future for LMI to start testing for Runout, or perhaps any other tonal type issues rather than just visually in their grading system?
Well, we've got a couple ideas sort of in our back pocket that we're looking into. It's a lot of work to do what we do already. The drying, the grading, the sanding, grading again, and then photographing everything like that.
Yeah.
To add testing on that probably would be a great idea. Are you willing to pay twice as much for your top to have that service? That's the question, because that's really what's going to come.
It's labor intensive.
Yeah, so you're gonna have to pay for that.
Yeah.
It might be worth it. You might be, if we're testing, then we may be coming up with some $500 tops, because we didn't know the potential of something that looked average.
Right.
Who knows? But so it's something we're looking at. We're certainly in connection with some of the top people developing these ideas right now. But it's I'm not going to put a date on that at all.
Okay, good. Adriana?
Jim Kirby, have you noticed if the Taylor and Luthier push for acceptance of more acceptance, color variation in Ebony has affected what customers want from you?
Yeah, the tendency to allow stripes and coloring into Ebony now, has that affected what the customer's asking for there at LMI? Have you noticed any difference, Chris?
I was really surprised that the market accepted this change. Basically, the foresters, in the past were leaving striped wood on the forest floor, and when they decided to stop doing that, kind of insisted upon acceptance of this material, I was freaked out. I thought, oh boy, nobody's going to want that at all. It used to be that we'd have plenty of black ebony, and people were, would still want it to be even blacker, but whatever. Sometimes luthiers are flexible about some things and not others, and it's surprising to me. I mean, this one was a little bit surprising. So at this point, people are okay with color. They're okay with dyeing it if they need to dye it.
Yep.
We're actually selling ebony substitutes now, rock light and rich light materials.
Yes.
I didn't know how those would sell, but they're selling really well. People are enjoying working with those. So there's a lot of things going on. And then, we sell the really black ebony for $45 or something like that. That's what they cost these days, and they just sell right out. So some people are willing to go there too.
You mentioned rich light and rock light. I always get those confused. Which one is the ebony and which one's the rosewood substitute?
There's actually two separate products. Rich light is a phenolic type material that's been around for a while. Rock light is material that is made with wood fibers and some secret sauce. We don't know what it is. Holds it together, and it actually looks and sands and it finishes more like real wood. That's definitely got some more popularity. And they've introduced Sundari, their brand name for the rosewood substitute. It looks just like rosewood. It's amazing what they've done. And so we're carrying those, and people are interested in them and buying them and using them.
I think I've got some here behind me. Let me see if I can grab it real quick.
Sure.
Don't have my wireless mic with me today, but here's some here that Chris was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got bridges made for classical guitar and steel string guitar. Very lightweight. That's what impressed me about this product. It's very light.
Right. Yeah, it is.
And mills and works just like regular wood. So fantastic product there.
You'll notice the grain is, is not cortisone, because you know why? There is no grain.
Right.
It's not a tree that grows like that. And so it seems to be, it doesn't require those green lines to support the stiffness along the length of it, like we're used to seeing with regular wood. But cool. I'm glad you had a chance to play with that.
Yeah. Is there any idea about maybe making back and side sets out of that stuff?
I've heard about it. I don't know what's happening. And actually, the story that needs to be told is that company, it's a couple of guys who work very close together, and they've been deeply impacted by the COVID situation, and they have not been able to produce for a while. So we're actually kind of on a holding pattern around that right now.
That's one of the questions I saw here in the chat box here is, how has COVID affected your businesses? And it was a question to me, and it was a question to you also, Chris. So I'll let you go first. How has COVID affected the LMI, perhaps the supply chain and things like that?
Yeah, things have slowed down. I mean, we're talking about, I don't know, it's hard to, I don't know why our businesses would be different from other businesses, but we're talking about, I guess a little bit more vulnerable businesses that we order from. Small companies, just 1 or 2 sawyers in some cases, sometimes larger operations. International shipping and transportation in general has been slower. So yeah, we've definitely had supply issues with wood and all kinds of other things too, and nothing super critical. Nothing, certainly we hope will be long term. Once again, ask us if you're worried about something running out, or why something is not on the website that you used to see there. Give us a call. We'll say, oh well, it's coming. Or if it was in case of the rock light, we'll say, well, it's going to be a longer term situation with that. Yeah, so that's how it affected us. Now, of course, because we sell mail order, we don't have to worry about customers coming in our shop. We really don't do that. So, except for rare occasions, if you did want to visit, at least in the old days, you could make an appointment. Right now, that's limited, but that's just a tiny bit part of our business. Most of it is shipping stuff out. Right. And internally, we've got a big space, and so we've been able to distance from each other and do all the careful things. And everybody stayed healthy through all of this, and so grateful for that.
Well, Chris, in fact, I'm not going to answer my part of the question for the sake of time here. I can go into that in another link. But let's just take advantage of Chris's know-how and experience here. I think we need to probably cut off the questions because we're getting close to our time limit here.
Well, I'll remind you, if you've got a burning question, just send it to me. I'm going to repeat the email address just so everybody gets it. Service@Luthiers, that's plural, short for Mercantile, MERC.com. Luthiersmerc.com.
Yeah, go ahead and send your question directly over to Chris there. We'd be happy to answer if we couldn't get to it today. And I noticed Chris wanted to talk about a couple other things. I'm going to try and get the LMI website up here. I wanted to show their site. If I can get my mouse to work here. Where is it at? There it is. Let's see. I want to go back over to, that's my website. Let's get up the LMI website. There it is. There's the LMI website. And to order Tonewood, and why I'm dialing this up, Chris, if you, let me get you back up here because I've turned you off. Let me see. There he is. All right. Talk a little bit about, buying wood over the internet. It's kind of like, how do people buy guitars over the internet? Say you got the same issue. How do people buy wood over the internet? And I'll just show your website here as you do that. Go ahead.
Yeah. Part of it, there's a couple things. One, we like to think you can trust us. We've been doing this for a long time, and we're experts in it. And it's important for us to get it right. That's number one. Number two, asking questions, telling us what you want. You can do that right in the ordering. There's a special instructions box when you check out and say, I want you to go through and pick out the stiffest top for me, please. We don't charge extra for that. Might add 1 day to the shipping, no more. And and if you have other questions or concerns about what we have in stock, just email us or call us. We can do that. So that's step number two. Number three is actually using the website. So what we've done is we've got photographs of almost every back and side wood, a lot of the neck woods. We don't do top woods because it's too hard to photograph the cosmetic differences in those. We do it with bear claw, with bird's eye stuff too, but mostly the top woods are just example photos. But you can search for back and sides individually. And my recommendation for using our website, because we've got so many choices, is don't type in Indian rosewood, because you're going to get inundated. Go to the menus, go to Tonewoods, go to back and sides, and then you get to a place where you can use the filters, and then you can filter in for the size of guitar you're going to build, or certainly the species, and with different tools and different parts, there's different parameters that you can filter, and that'll help you out. Purfling is another big thing. We have like, I don't know, 50 different types of black and white strips. And so, if you type in purfling, you're going to just get smothered with the search results. But if you go through the menus, it's much cleaner, much tidier.
Okay.
And you'll find what you're looking for with ease.
So as you were describing that, Chris, I went ahead and did that. I went to the Tonewoods tab, clicked on back and sides, clicked on the acoustic back and sides, and the folks could see there was just tons of stuff popping up there. So I think there was like 39 pages or something. So if you need something, that's how you get to it. Something else that Chris wanted me to ask to discuss here is you've got a new venture out there at LMI's, the Luthier Showcase.
Yeah.
I'm going to dial up that website there, and you can talk a little bit about that if you want.
I'm happy to. This is really what I've been working on a lot myself personally, day to day, is little history. A lot of people know, some people don't, that we used to run the Healdsburg Guitar Festival. And, I don't want to pat ourselves on the back too much, but we kind of set the standard for guitar shows. And it was a great show. People sold a lot of instruments. There was music, there was classes, and it was really, really popular. And the only negative is it took a ton of our time away from our regular business. So we stopped. We ended it on a high note. Well, last show was maybe our best. But we decided to pass the baton on to other festivals, and there's other good ones going on. Woodstock, LaConner, two that come to mind. There's others as well, and some have come and some have gone. It's not easy to do a festival, but we've always supported those other festivals, and we supported the mission of helping people sell guitars and make sure that musicians know that they don't have to go to the big guys to find an instrument they'll fall in love with. They can actually approach a luthier and get a guitar that way. Right. This is an option that's grown over time, and we take some responsibility for that, and we want to continue that. And so now we have this website, and so basically it's less than a month old, and Robbie's on there. He's got a couple instruments on there, and other people are joining. We're getting more and more people who are signing up now. And so if you're a luthier, you want to start to move guitars, you can go to the website. You can read all about what we're doing, and there's a form there to apply. And we just want to make sure that everybody's at a professional level, of course, who's on the website. Then there's a yearly subscription fee to be a member of that. Right now, it's less than $50 a month. That's our introductory offer. And you get 10% on all your orders from Luthier's Mercantile, too. So it's a pretty fair deal. And so certainly a lot less than going and traveling to a guitar festival itself. Not that you shouldn't do that also, because there's so much to be gained by seeing people face to face. But in this day and age, the online marketing is really important. And we've got a lot of expertise in working with the Google search engines to make sure that people will get to the site. And we're building on that daily, now investing a lot in that. And we think this thing is going to be really fantastic.
Chris, I think we got a technical issue here. I think we're buffering, and I think we've lost our broadcast. Do you have anything coming through in your end? Yes.
Anybody?
Yeah, we're completely buffering here on this end. So I think we've lost everybody. Can you try typing in the chat box? Is anybody typing in the chat box there? Yeah. We're back. Okay. So is there any chat coming in through over the chat box about, hey, we've lost everybody? Because my chat box has stopped. Yeah, it looks like it's coming back in now. I think we lost
All right. Apologies, everybody.
I'll make it short. We're back.
Okay. Well, I was talking about the Luthier Showcase. It's luthiershowcase.com. It's our new venture to promote hand-built guitars. You can go to that website, list your instruments on that site. That tells you all about what we're doing for people to promote instruments. The application form is on that page. the rates and so on. And also, like I said, we're less than a month old. It's going like gangbusters. We're really excited. We really believe in this as far as being an important tool for people to harness the power of the internet to sell their guitars.
Looks like we're good, Chris. I think it was only my wife that lost her connection. Everybody else is saying that we're good. So it must,
okay.
must
All right, cool. So you heard it twice then.
Yeah, I think we're good. All right.
All right.
Now we had, how many people we have on here? Can you tell that, Adriana? How many people? 111 people. We better go ahead and cut this thing off. We're over our time limit already. I want to get Chris back to his family here because this is a weekend for him. But let's go ahead and do the drawing. Cesar, can you hear me down there in Brazil? He's online there, so I'm going to tell him to go ahead and do the drawing. Maybe I'll dial him up like I did last time, and I'll actually show you. He's got a little app that he does, and everybody that filled out that form, put their email address and their name on there, is assigned a number. And then he has a little app that he clicks and it selects it randomly and that number pops up. So let me see if I can get him on the horn here. And then we'll go ahead and choose that. Let's see here. Just bear with me here while we call him real quick. And there we go. Let's see if we can get him online here, and we'll do a quick drawing. Compliments of LMI, a really high. Hey, Cesar, how you doing? This is Cesar. Oh, there we are. He's my
small world.
Cesar does a lot for me. I've been working with Cesar for over 10 years on my website, and he's my right-hand man when it comes to technological stuff. He's also moderating in the chat here today, and he's going to be doing the drawing for us. Are you ready to go, Cesar?
Yes.
Okay.
We actually
76 people have filled out the form and
all right.
are ready for the drawing. Do I need to show my camera here so you can see your screen, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to try and hold my camera or my telephone up to the screen here, and then you can hit generate when I get ready here. Hang on, let me get that ready. All right, go ahead. We got 76 people. He's hitting generate. Let's see who's number 27. Who's number 27? Gary Redmond. Gary, Geary Redmond. And I believe he is in Arizona, if I'm not mistaken. All right. So Gary, or I think that's how you pronounce your name. Can you go ahead and just show us in the chat box there that you're acknowledging that you have won? And
I'll tell Gary, and you too, Robbie. All Gary needs to do is send us an email or call us on Monday.
Okay.
And we'll connect, get the address and everything, and get that top out to him.
You're probably going to get 500 calls from a Gary on Monday. I'm Gary. All right. Is he still on there? I don't see anything in the chat box here. Come on, Gary. You gotta type in the chat box here that you acknowledge that you won. If not, we're going to move on to somebody else here. We want to make sure we get the right person here. Cesar, you still there? We may have to do this again. Okay. I don't see anybody named Gary in the chat box. Do you see anybody there? Oh no. Maybe he's not there with us anymore. Gary, man, that's a high quality Redwood top.
Must be present to win. Is that the deal?
That's
okay.
Right. Must be present to win. There he is. I still have you. All right, Gary.
Cool.
Boy, that was close. Well, Gary, congratulations. You have won the Redwood soundboard there from LMI. All right. Now,
right.
Cesar, I'm going to go ahead and turn this off here, okay? We'll talk later. Thank you. All right. Well, thank you very, very much. Boy, that was a close one. You almost lost out on that Redwood top. All right. Thank you very much first of all, for Chris, for being on board here with us, taking time away from the family.
My pleasure. Let's do it again. We got to talk about tools next time or something else.
Yeah,
right?
and let's do this. Let's put it on the calendar. If you guys want to have Chris back on here, we can do it again. Type there in the chat box. If you want to have Chris back on as a guest here, we can talk tools next time, or services or anything like that. By the way, I don't think we touched on services, Chris. LMI offers services too. Let's say you buy a set of back and sides from, but you
Yeah.
don't have a thickness sander, or you don't want to do the hand plane method. Just say, hey, while you're at it, before you ship it, thickness it down to whatever you want, and they'll do that for you. They'll
You
join
can
the
add
top, they'll join the back,
right- you can
whatever.
order
Right?
right from the product page. So if you're ordering a fingerboard, you can add the slotting and the radiusing right there on the product page, and it's not expensive. It's pretty quick, and it's popular. We do it all the time. We do it for a lot of folks.
Good. All right. So there's another service there from LMI. We'll definitely have Chris back. Chris, why don't you go ahead and stay online here? I'm going to go into my end of the stream here, and then we can chat offline or
Okay.
off air. Thank you very much, everybody that
Yeah, thank you, everybody.
participated.
Yep.
Thanks for Chris. Thanks for everybody taking time out of their busy weekend here to join us here. So over and out. And let me see if I can figure out how to get out of here. That's always a problem for me, is how to turn this stupid thing off.